Debunking the myths. Hello, my friends. Today, we are going to explore a question that many have wondered about, though often with a bit of a misconception. Why do we see so few black athletes in professional swimming compared to sports like basketball or track and field? There is a common stereotype that black people are naturally gifted at all sports. But a quick look at the Olympic pool or the Winter Games tells a different story. In the NBA, 73% of players are black, and in the NFL, it's about 60%, even though black people make up only 15% of the U.S. population. But in baseball, hockey, and especially swimming, those numbers drop drastically. To truly understand this, we have to look past the physical myths and dive into the deeper waters of history and sociology. The biological misconception and the sinking theory. For a long time, the sports world tried to explain the lack of black swimmers through biology. You might have heard theories that black people have higher bone density or more muscle mass, which supposedly makes them sink in the water due to higher density. Some even claimed that larger pores or different muscle distributions in the lower body were the cause. However, modern science tells us that these differences are either non-existent or so minor that they don't actually impact elite performance. In fact, many of the physical traits that make someone a great sprinter on the track, like explosive power, can also make them a powerful swimmer. The real reason isn't in the DNA, it's in the world we've built. A history of exclusion and segregation. The history of swimming in the United States is, unfortunately, a history of segregation. In the 1920s through the 1960s, when swimming became a popular national pastime, most public pools were off-limits to black citizens. They were often treated as unclean, and the idea of sharing a pool was a flashpoint for racial tension. Thousands of pools were built during this era, but almost none were placed in black neighborhoods. This exclusion wasn't just about fun, it was about safety. When you deny a community access to water and swimming lessons for generations, you create a cycle of fear. Statistically, if parents don't know how to swim, there is only a 13% chance their children will learn. This historical trauma and lack of infrastructure are the real barriers that kept a generation out of the water. The economic reality and the path to wealth. Beyond history, we have to talk about the practical side of sports, the cost of excellence. Swimming is an expensive pursuit. It requires access to clean facilities, professional coaching, and specialized gear. More importantly, as a child gets better, the costs rise exponentially with private lessons and travel. For a family living in an underserved area, this is an impossible burden. On the other hand, sports like basketball, football, and track require very little initial investment. A ball and a patch of concrete are enough to start a dream. Furthermore, the incentives are different. In the NBA, fame and fortune are guaranteed for the best. In swimming, there is no pro league that pays millions, and an Olympic gold medal doesn't come with a lifelong pension. For a young person looking to escape poverty, the choice is clear. Focus on the sports that offer a way out. The lesson from history. When barriers fall. It is fascinating to look back at the history of basketball. In the early 20th century, basketball was actually considered a Jewish sport. Jewish athletes made up 70% of the players, and people at the time claimed that black people lacked the intelligence required for the game. But as soon as basketball became a path to professional wealth, and black athletes were allowed to compete, they shattered those prejudices and took over the court. This tells us everything we need to know. If swimming offered the same professional wealth and fame as the NBA, we would see a surge of black champions in the pool. When talent meets a desperate need for a better life, when a dragon rises from a small stream, there is no barrier that cannot be broken. Conclusion. Closing the gap. In the end, my friends, the story of why black athletes are absent from certain sports isn't a story of inability. It is a story of opportunity, economics, and history. Every child, regardless of their background, has the potential to be a champion in any arena if given the chance and the tools. As we look toward a more inclusive future, let's remember that the finish line should be accessible to everyone, whether it's on the track or at the end of a swimming lane. I look forward to our next conversation.